And we are live. Welcome back to episode 39 of To the Unknown Pod, a TGFB podcast. My name is Jordan Bush. I'm the director of TGFB Media, which exists to help all people, and especially Christians, use Bitcoin for the glory of God and the good of people everywhere. I am joined today by two-thirds of the Island Boys, who I will allow to introduce themselves now.
My name is Matt Purvis. I'm on the Big Island of Hawaii, pastoring and also operating a business or two, and have done that for many years and believe in business as mission.
I'm Ryan Finley, a former resident of the Big Island of Hawaii, now in Oregon, father of six, doing a lot of entrepreneurial projects with my boys. Yeah.
For those of you who are just joining us today for the first time, that is why we call them the Island Boys. I have never lived or even been in Hawaii, but the other three guys who are normally on this podcast have all lived there and ministered there at various points. So we are back today. You might. I'm not. I don't look very tan. Despite living in a sunny place, I spend most of my time inside writing or responding to things, email, all this kind of stuff. But I just got back from spending a week in El Salvador, Bitcoin country, Bitcoin Beach, all of the Bitcoin things. Had a great time with Oshawa Hawthorne. We both got invited to go down and take part in the Bitcoin Beach Global Circular Economy Summit that they did. We are going to discuss the events and all the stuff that happened there and all of our takeaways on the next episode when Oshawa returns. Oshawa's taking care of some family business today. So look forward to that. Something that I just had a blast, saw the Lord do some really cool things. Just so much that we could talk about. And so we want to save that for to have two minds who are there remembering the most salient bits rather than just mine. So look forward to that later. Before we get into today's episode, which you can read the title there. Episode 39, Hope in the Face of Despair, Epstein and Bitcoin, and then later in a little bit. So that's going to be, we're I don't know if you can see behind me over here on this side, you can see the block clock. Shout out to Chester, Ginger Sherpa, who made these things. If you haven't seen those, go check out block clock, Google it, you'll find it. But Bitcoin, there's blood in the streets. Blood in the streets. Did you ever think that you would say blood in the streets over $75,000 Bitcoin? Oh, the sky is falling. So there's a lot of people who have a lot of questions. A lot of us are fielding questions from friends, family members who are like, "Oh, is this quantum computing? Should we all just sell our Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin crashing?" This is literally what always happens. The cycle theorists rejoiced. We are back. We are down 44%, I believe, from the all-time high. So we're gonna talk about some of that here in a minute. We're also a few days removed from another release of Epstein documents, even more insane and disgusting than, or every bit as insane and disgusting, involving more explicit details about powerful people than we've ever had before. So again, we're not going to go super into detail on a lot of the lurid details if you're listening to this with little ones in the car, so don't have any fear there. But we're still just going to kind of just chat about that a little bit. And just the overall, just things that are going on. There's just a lot of stuff going on around the world and in our lives that, could just, because there's been nothing done about Epstein, because, of all these things going on in our lives, it just would be easy to get overwhelmed and to despair. And so we're going to talk about how do we deal with that. So we will get there in a second. We're going to finish with a conversation with Moses Finley, the son of the offspring of one of the three of us sitting here. I'll let you try to figure out which one it is. And Moses is a friend of the program. Moses is a full stack developer who, for the last number of months, has been using AI to leverage his coding abilities. And so we're going to talk to him about the crazy story of this Moltbot AI agent takeover that was dominating almost literally every single story on my feed a couple days ago. We're going to get his perspective on what is going on, what is real, how do we discern what was actually going on here versus what was just said to be going on, what are some of the incentives involved. Moses will be back on a future episode to kind of talk more about the AI programming revolution and his thoughts on that. So we're pumped to have him later in a little bit once he's working on something, and then he'll join us once we get to that point. So I do want to just remind you of a couple things that are coming up to ways to support TGFB. For those of you who did not know, maybe you've been under a rock and you've just emerged. Well, welcome into the light. TGFB for the last 3.5 years has been operating as a for-profit business. We've been doing our best not to, our goal in starting this was, hey, let's go out there, go hard, try to make this into a successful, for-profit business. And that way, if we don't need to receive donations and that kind of stuff from other people, there can be donations that can go to all kinds of other deserving projects around the world. And so, with that said, over the last few years, as we've tried to, make this work and tried to, just do things from a for-profit standpoint, there were things that just sacrifices that we weren't, or trade-offs that we weren't willing to make in just the name of making as much profit as possible. And so a number of months ago, in talking with Jimmy and some of the other investors, we made the decision to go nonprofit. And so TGFB is going to be coming under the wing of Brilliance Labs, which is a small innovation lab that's using Bitcoin to empower all kinds of projects across the world, and as well as in the United States, in the town where Oshawa lives. And so we are going to be working together. Could not be more excited about it, honestly. Working together with a team. I've been trying to do this not all by myself. There's been plenty of people who have volunteered and helped along the way. So I'm not trying to insinuate that at all. But just it's being able to work together with other guys with corresponding skill sets, where we can overlap for some of each other's weaknesses. I could not be more excited about that. And so that, if you want to learn more about that decision. Let's see here. You can go to decision, what it entails, and how to support us. You can go to brilliancelabs.com/TGFB. We have a video. Again, in hindsight, it just was kind of amazing to see the Lord kind of preparing this decision. We actually did this incredible video together 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, or I guess 2 years ago, when Oshawa and I went to El Salvador. You can watch this video there. Just phenomenal job. Shout out to Caleb Goodnight, who's a friend of ours who made it, went with us. And so then this is like an intro to Brilliance Labs, intro to me, what we're doing. And then down here, you can give. Again, if you want to give dirty fiat, feel free. We will help you wash your hands of that filth. If you also want to give the much greater, if you want to give Bitcoin, we can do Bitcoin on chain or on Lightning. Give crypto or stocks. Any of these things can allow us to continue our work. We've raised about a quarter of the money that we need to finish, basically to get through the end of the year. And so we would greatly appreciate your prayers and your donations to help us continue that work. So that's that thing right there. The other couple things that we have, again, we just last month, finally, after much time of work and many years of work, we launched the Orange Umbrella. This is our kids book that me and a buddy named JD wrote. And so here we can see it right here. Here's our website. This is the different things that we have available. We have, number one, we have the Orange Umbrella. This is our kids book, available both in hardcover and in paperback. For those of you who are wondering, wow, what does that actually look like? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's see here. So we have a paperback cover right here, super high quality, very thick, very premium paper. Just a whole lot of good stuff going on there. Then we have a hardcover version as well. This is the highest highest quality hardcover you're going to find. Very well put together with sewn bindings, with very good quality dust jackets and the like. I'll also be signing every book that's ordered. So if that's something that interests you and you want to support TGFB indirectly in those ways, you can do that. We also, given that we'd already done our artist had already done all of the line art for the book, we just said, hey, why don't we just create a coloring book that has all the text from the book, but just removes all of the color. And so you can, if you want to make improvements or whatever, you want your kids to take part in the coloring of the Orange Umbrella. We have the Orange Umbrella coloring book, which is right here on the screen. We also have the second edition of TGFB. I could not be more excited about this. This is, guys, if you've read the initial copy, I always tell people, we thought that us and our moms were going to really enjoy. We're going to really enjoy. Thank God for Bitcoin when we first published. We didn't spend tons of money and resources to try to perfect this thing. We just put it out there. So hopefully that can be an encouragement for some of your projects. If you're waiting for perfection to release a project, don't do that. Just you get it out there in the world. But now that it's been out for 5 years, we just celebrated the 5th year anniversary. We decided, hey, let's spend a little money to get a little more professional typesetting. Let's do a cover redesign. And so that is available for pre-order right now. We had anticipated already having this long done for the last, probably a month ago. We were expecting to have this done. But the fine folks over there at Amazon have been making our lives miserable as we've tried to satisfy their desires to prove that we are indeed who we say we are. So we are still working to get that done. In the meantime, you can pre-order pre-order that right here. We also have our book, obviously, The Gospel According to Bitcoin. We found a lot of people enjoy. So go ahead and read that one as well. You can pick up those, and to encourage you to again just make these orders. We have a 25% off code right now. If you use promo code Plan B, all capitalized, Plan B, 5 letters, you can get 25% off of anything in the store except for our last thing before we get started here is the TGFB 26 conference in Fort Worth. This is going to be our first conference, our first proper conference in almost 2 years. We did 2024 in Nashville. And this year, because the Bitcoin conference is going to be in Vegas, and many of you have reached out and said, hey, I don't really have an interest in going to Vegas. We decided, all right, we're going to go and we'll partner with BitBlock Boom. We'll do our event the day before with them there. And so if you go to tgfb.com/conference, you can find a place where it gives you a little bit more information. You click on buy tickets and it'll take you to Zaprite where you can pay with Bitcoin or fiat. Early bird prices right now, you can get those, including one ticket with a merch bundle. If you have pastors or other ministry leaders who you'd like to bring, email us and we're happy to get you a promo code to get discounted tickets for them. So please let us know. We'd love to see you. We're going to be doing this one or two more things. We're going to do one more event that's basically going to be a fundraiser for TGFB. It's probably going to be a dinner. It's going to be a dinner one of the nights of BitBlock Boom. So we will be releasing more information about that. And boom, shill over. That was about 7 minutes of full-on shilling. But again, we're happy to do it because we are grateful for you guys, and we know that you guys are eager to get resources that you can put into the hands of the people in your life and your own hands, your own kids and all this kind of thing. So with that being said, we are done. Let's do this. Let's see, stop sharing. That's what I'm trying to do. And now let's get into the episode here. So we basically a lot of stuff in the news. We mentioned Epstein. So let's kind of start right there. I've been talking a lot. Let me ask you guys, is there anything I forgot? Anything you guys think we ought to mention before we hop into Epstein?
We're doing Bitcoin second.
Correct. Yes, we are.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Great. For some reason, this is using the wrong microphone. How do I sound horrible?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You cut out for me for about 30 seconds or 10 seconds.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Okay, that's not good.
Probably switch
and
it
I
over.
can't switch it while we're recording, but here we are. So again, if this
I think it's
hopefully
fine.
Okay, good. So let's launch into Epstein. So what a horrible sentiment to have to say. So again, we're not going to get into crazy details, but we do just want to kind of talk about there was a giant release of Epstein documents over the last few, I guess it was middle of the week last week or Thursday. I think it was Thursday or Friday. Bunch of documents dumped and just a staggering amount of new information about Epstein, about people who are involved in Epstein, a whole new group of people. who were found to be in communicating with him. There's a whole bunch of disturbing things, disturbing information, disturbing pictures, images. Those are the same thing. Images, videos, whole bunch of stuff. And I will say one of the things that I'll mention is while I was in El Salvador at the Plan B conference when these came out, and as we're sitting there, I mean, people were just quickly, because we're there, searching Bitcoin in the Epstein documents, and we're finding. Let's see if I'll share this here. We found there was quite a few actually mentions of Bitcoin in the Epstein documents. So we have Epstein talking about, this is Epstein, or this is Joey Ito. He's basically talking about there was a problem, like the Bitcoin Foundation went bankrupt. Can you guys read this?
Can see it.
Okay. So the Bitcoin Foundation went bankrupt, and so he's describing many organizations scrambled to step into the vacuum created by the foundation and quote unquote take control of the developers. We, whoever this is, we moved quickly, talking to all of the various stakeholders, and the 3 developers decided to join the Media Lab, which is apparently something that Paul, or I mean, what's his name, Joey is in, has something to do with. This is a big win for us. So this we people were very concerned of like, okay, wait a second, does this mean that the Bitcoin devs were co-opted? Bitcoin's been owned owned and operated by potentially a party that Epstein is close to. Is that what's going on? There's 100 other things. People were people including Bruce Fenton were quick to debunk the idea that Epstein influenced Bitcoin development. No, it's not that bad. Then we have this right here, friend of the program, Mike Germano, shout out to Mike. Jeffrey Epstein didn't launder his horrors using Bitcoin. He relied on bank accounts at JP Morgan Chase, HSBC, and Deutsche Bank to pay for his crimes. But those institutions have elite PR machines working overtime to shift the conversation. Never forget who banked him. There's also a bunch of documents in here about Jamie Dimon, who said under oath that he had never met Jeffrey Epstein. That is, unless he's going to try to pull a Clinton and say that, oh, I never met him in person or something along those lines. There's tons of correspondence between them. 100 different things going on here. This could be people speculating, is this part of the reason Bitcoin's price is falling? Bitcoin's price has fallen, $15,000 in the last few days here. There's just a bunch of stuff going on. Adam Back was mentioned in the Epstein files. Ironically, I gave a copy of the Orange Umbrella to Adam Back, got a picture taken with him, and then literally later that day, find out he's in the Epstein files. And so just a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on. I'm going to give you guys a chance to respond. What were your thoughts when you saw these files drop?
I mean, they're very disturbing. Just from what I've been, the bits and pieces I've seen. I mean, as far as the connection to Bitcoin, I don't think there's a ton to it. I think more than anything, you realize that there's an enormous network of powerful people. It's usually centered around money, like always, but also just power around the world. And it was the most despicable, twisted network you can imagine. They got sucked into it, and all sorts of leverage, and they would commit crimes, and then there would be evidence of them, and then whatever they call that, a honeypot. And I just think Bitcoin is such a significant. It's like a financial atomic bomb that went off when it got released into the world. Everyone in the financial space, which there's a lot of people that were in the Epstein files, are in the financial world. It just went on their radar immediately, and you can see it seems to be a lot of discussion about it. Anyways, I don't think there's a lot there. Kind of like what Mike Germano said. Much more disturbing is the existing financial system and how it just openly supported and facilitated a lot of the wickedness that you see in the Epstein files.
Yeah, Yeah, let me add one thing. One of the things we could find this file, but we don't need to. One of the things you see is that Epstein was critical of Bitcoin. He's basically saying like there's limitations. He was like trying to point out some of the limitations, and so one of the things you just see is that over and over again, Epstein, just like a lot of Bitcoin critics, they there's things that they don't like about it, that it can't do some of the things that they want to do. And so rather than submit themselves to what Bitcoin is, they kind of move on to other projects and where they can exercise more control and they can get more either whether it's greater stake or whatever it is. So that was one thing. Let me just share a couple of these. Again, this isn't like lurid details. We've got Ben Justman, friend of the program. Go buy Peony Lane wine. Ben said this. Let me get this straight. Let's see here. So let me get this straight. Epstein didn't use Bitcoin because it was too transparent and opted to use JP Morgan instead. Yes, Ben. That's exactly what we're saying. Again, access to cash and the most biggest, most influential on the U.S. government and arguably the most corrupt bank in the world. Able to do that. Then we also had this. Here we go. That's not it. It's this one right here. Okay, so from Bitcoin or Uncle Doomer, here we go. Uncle Doomer. There was one of the emails we have. In one of the emails, we have Jeffrey Epstein's assistant. Oh shoot, sorry. Jeffrey Epstein's assistant buying a single unlabeled $8,453 item from Wayfair. We don't have what this was. This is bringing to mind for a lot of people, including let's see where to go, including Uncle Doomer here. Every conspiracy theory is real. That's obviously a reference to the Wayfair conspiracy theory from a number of years ago, where people logged onto Wayfair and they saw these pieces of furniture that you could find other places for much cheaper that were listed for $8,000, $10,000, whatever, and they had very weird names, like they were names of children. And there were some people who were trying to tie the names together with missing persons. But this is just really weird. All right. It's very similar to Pizzagate. All the references, there's tons of pizza references in these emails, which again, everyone knows what those are referencing at this point. Tons of pizza references in John Podesta's emails as well. These are not accidents. Tons of disturbing things. Let's see. There's one more. I think there's one more. Yeah, this is one. This is a tweet that I retweeted this. So we had 10 Downing Street, which is obviously basically like not the British White House, but it's where the Prime Minister's office is. Peter Mendelsohn, who is a very influential, he was the business secretary at the time. In 2010, he sends Jeffrey Epstein an email. Says sources tell me in relation to the financial, like a euro bailout, the euro was going to fail or was looking very weak, and they get a $500 billion euro bailout. He again just gets this information, promptly emails it immediately to Jeffrey Epstein, says it's almost complete. Epstein creepily asks if he's home, and then he says just leaving number 10, which is 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's office, will call. So I mean, this is bonkers, and this is why. Here's my retweet of this. The U.S. business secretary leaves 10 Downing Street with news of a bailout, and the first person he calls, UK. And the first person he calls is Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, this is insanely weird. This is reminiscent of one of the things that came out a number of weeks ago, that Epstein was tagged.
Your audio just cut out.
We can hear the clicks though.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
All right. It is my
It's
my
all
wife
right.
is trying to call me, and she is calling me. It keeps coming right through the pod. Okay, so we have we have this going on, reminiscent of a politician, U.S. politician, who during a congressional Senate hearing is getting talking points from Epstein in real time. So this guy was connected, insanely well connected, to politicians in the United States, politicians in the UK. There's emails that show connections to Putin and Russia, and also obviously former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. So this guy was insanely well connected to people at the highest positions of power, and had access in a level of importance to them where he's one of the first people to get information as these giant news events are happening. We'll do one more here. Let's see. Oh, we already did that one. So yeah, again, we could do literally 100 more. And this, Ryan, you mentioned this is part of the problem. Is there's just so much that it's almost overwhelming and arguably desensitizing. I'll let you kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's like thousands more, and it's more horrific than you can imagine. It's like like they said, all the conspiracy theories are true, and then as Christians, we want justice and we want this to come to light, and then at the same time, no one's been brought to justice. Like all of the very wealthy, powerful, mostly men, have not been held accountable at all. There's been no arrests. There's a couple. I think one Romanian politician stepped down from this. Like the country,
Okay.
the country shamed him out of politics. This happened 2 days ago. So I was like, oh,
Wow.
that's good. That was a healthy immune response from Romania. Nothing ever happens to American politicians. Like we're so far
Immune
gone.
shame.
Our culture is so wicked that you can have the most heinous, monstrous thing. Like honestly, this is like there's probably nothing ever that's like this that's been publicly disclosed for the world for like Americans to hear in our country's history. Um, and it's very likely that nothing will happen. I mean, Bill Gates' name's been dragged through the mud and things like that, and a bunch of other
Yeah.
people. Um, but again, it's like, oh, but he's on the left, so there, well, half the country's not going to say a peep, right? And then the other half
Yep.
will. So, but then it's on partisan lines. So then, and then the media is bringing up Elon Musk. I mean, it's just the whole response is just on script, and it's discouraging because, but
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, like there's references made to Trump. There's references made to other people, other politicians as well. Again, there's accusations levied against Trump of awful things that weren't deemed credible enough to respond to. But again, like who knows why that was, depending on when these things, when these critiques were made. So again, this is not meant to be like a this is not meant to be a the left they're right and they're wrong and the left is just or the right is spotless. It's not that at all.
no, at all. No.
But
No, I mean, look at Trump's response. I mean, you have one politician, or I think there's two. Thomas Macy. He's trying to bring this out into the light, which is good. And Trump is literally going scorched earth, trying to smote him off the face of the earth. And you're like, why? Oh, that's interesting. Like Trump he's listed in these files. Like he sullied himself. Like who knows? Like honestly, I mean,
It's tricky because the gears of the law requires it can't be circumstantial.
Yep.
It has to be, so even
And if
if
no
we
one's
were
willing
to
to
say
stand up.
like 99% chance, more than 9, let's just say it's more than 99 that Bill Gates was involved in like illegal activities, you still have to have someone who comes and says I was a witness
Yep.
and we're charging him. And so that's part of the frustration is you have to get a lot of things together in order to get justice. So you can get social shaming and maybe exclusion, which is appropriate too, but it's going to be tough because you're going to have either the victims or witnesses or whatever. Chances
sounds
are
like
there could be video, but
no, it sounds like they did get all the victims. It was a New York case, and they interviewed like 10 of them, and they got all the names and everything like that. And the whole point is they've already done that, including some of the witnesses that have since like basically killed themselves, probably because they found out that the whole justice system is a mockery. And even after getting like they have all the evidence. That's why they're not releasing all the files. Like we haven't seen, I think this is like, we haven't seen anything yet. So we're basically living through, like, it's a two-tiered justice system. Like if you're wealthy and powerful, and if you're depraved enough, like you're above the law, basically. And I think the masses are fine. Like, I mean, this is unmasking it like more than I've ever seen. And it's very disturbing. Yeah, I mean, I read this and I just like burn it all down. Both parties, like, there's, like, I mean, literally, like, I think literally, like, we need a massive purge of almost all of our politicians. That's how corrupt, and not just politicians, but also everyone's finding out that it was Hollywood as well, and things like that. And so,
the first mention of leadership in the Bible qualifications I think the first mention is when Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, talks to Moses, and he says first things he says, choose men who hate a bribe and who fear God. So that's the basis. Who should be leading other people? They hate bribes and they fear God. Yeah. So apply that to what we see in our landscape, and power. I saw a recent post that I thought it was a good framing. It's not just that power corrupts, but power attracts corrupt people. Because the corrupt people want to have power over their fellow man, whereas in many cases, people who just want to live their lives and have a family and start a business and maybe try to do some positive effect in the world. Many people like that aren't really interested in having power over their fellow man because they're already content with taking care of their family and taking care of their small community. And in a certain way, this is a call for people like that to say, you need to run for higher office, actually. If you're, maybe serve your time and then go back if you're that person. And that.
This is why back in early in our country's history, like, you used to have to profess your faith in God to be in political office. And the reason they did that, it was because, like, ultimately when you are electing a politician, you're electing someone that's going to end up ruling over you, and they need to have someone ruling over them. It's a hierarchy of like, exactly, that you need that they're not going to be a terror, and they're not going to be taking bribes, and they're not going to literally seek your destruction. And so this whole nation of the separation of church and state, like, we're seeing this, like, oh, Christians shouldn't talk about politics. And it's like, literally, there is no good politician but Christians, as we're starting to see. Like, literally, if someone doesn't have a fear of God, you get what we get. You see what we get. You see where it leads. It's total depravity, total.
Well,
like,
hey,
total
even if you're not a Christian yet. Yeah, and even someone who's not quite a Christian, at least if you have this understanding that there's a judge and you might be judged, maybe you're not, there's this idea of I'm going to be held to a higher court than just my fellow man, and something that I read a long time ago, an article about Chinese politics, and it was this guy who got into the higher echelons of like business and politics, because there it's all mixed. Well, here it is too, and he was talking about how once you get to a certain level, you're gonna have to participate in these lewd, drunken reveling, basically. And nobody says like, hey, we're gonna take you to this party and you have to get massively drunk and then we're gonna bring the girls in. But that's what they do. And this is the point I'm making is it's a universal thing. This is true in the medieval times. This is true, go back as far as you want. What we're seeing now is a huge uncovering. So anybody who thought it was a little more tame than it really is realizing it's not only Epstein, it's all these people. And this is true for, an example would be like if you go to the mob, you have to do certain little menial tasks, and then little by little they start introducing you to the violence, and they introduce it to you to the point where, like in the movie Donnie Brasco, they bring him to where they're going to murder some people, but he stays in the car, right? And then and then later on, he has to come and help dispose of the evidence. And then that leads into where you're going to become a murderer, but now you've already committed crimes, and it just, you know what I mean? It's like it's like that kind of system. And so they, in the article he was talking about, in that system, like, you will not advance farther than that ceiling if you don't take part in those kinds of things. They order you another round of drinks, you don't drink. That's the ceiling, and you have to be willing to accept that. And what we're seeing here is, in part, a universal human principle of evil that we're being able to see, like, right now. And it's crazy, like, thinking if I was in 2010 and I was one of these guys, even in 2000, you have no idea what the internet's going to be like in 2025, 26. Even in 2010, you have no idea what the internet's going to be. This is like the beginning of Facebook. You know what I mean? You couldn't even find this stuff. You could, even if it existed, you wouldn't be able to find it. And
they're
they'll be able to
older.
shut it down because, and so you can't even fathom. And then not only that, AI. So you release like millions of documents or whatever, and instead of having to read through each one, you can ask AI, "Where's this word found? What about this? What about that?" This is all like absolutely brand new phenomenon that these guys were not being careful in a 2026 sense, because you had no concept it would even be like this back then. And could I share that video I had an idea of?
Do it. Yeah, go for it.
It's probably less than 30 seconds. I'm going to introduce the video, but in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing, and I haven't dove in deep, but just in the whole story, I do think it's true that Epstein is not like a top guy. I think he's, it looks to me like he is connected to these intelligence agencies, probably more than one, and he was running honey traps, and he's not exactly a pawn, but he's probably someone who accepted his role. Is he's going to have unlimited money, unlimited access to do the wicked things he wants to do. I'm not a doctor, but I would say he's a psychopath, meaning he doesn't have empathy or able to feel what other people are feeling. And the video I'm going to show is a confrontation. It's in the 1999 movie Payback with Mel Gibson, and it's a leader in the mob confronting one of his lower guys, whose the anti-value is, and explaining what his value is as a violent person. So let me share here, because I think it applies to Epstein.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay, so here. Can you guys see that?
Twitter. Yep.
Oh, can you see the YouTube?
No, I see Twitter.
Okay, shoot. Let me change it. Sorry, I did it wrong. Oh, here it is. Got it. Okay. So this is the guy who's basically the sadist, and then he's going to be confronted by the mob boss.
Here's his file, Mr. Carter.
Do you understand your value to the organization, Resnick? You're a sadist. You lack compunction. That comes in handy. But now you've allowed an area of your personal life to become dangerous. A man in our organization needs to be taught to self-reliance.
He goes on to say, basically, you need to handle this on your own because you've allowed a personal part of your life to become a danger to the organization. And I'm not sure if that last part is true of Epstein. It could be, because he ended up becoming one of their sacrificial lambs, or I guess sacrificial goat, in his case. But I thought it reminded me of that because, I'll stop sharing the screen. I think that's kind of the position he was in. When it came time that everything's coming clear and open, he had to be put down, or faked it. I don't know if that's true or not. But in the end, he's probably a psycho, and that means if you tell him what to do, he doesn't have the normal compunction or hesitation that you or I would have towards doing something horrible, and he also has appetites of his own of what he wants
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, there's not
And
the
that's
same.
why
There's not like
I think that's kind of the position he's in.
there's not a fear of getting in trouble. It doesn't seem like even when he was in prison, like there was reports that he was still getting. I mean, he was able to get outside the jail, and he was able to get all kinds of special privileges that no normal person gets. And so, yeah, I do think it's, and we'll talk about this in a future episode. I think one of the things that I think we should address here, and then we've been going for a while. Wow. But I think one of the things we should address is there's two dangers with conspiracy theories.
I've got a psalm.
We're going to do a whole episode on just conspiracy theories as a category and like how Christians should think about them. But this is one of these really tricky situations because there's a lot of people who, when they hear something, they hear something about the Epstein and, oh, there's a global cabal who's trafficking children. Like, this sounds so nuts. It sounds so scandalous and absurd that you're like, how could that possibly be true? And that the highest levels of politicians could be involved. Like, it sounds crazy. And so there's a temptation to dismiss it, not on any kind of evidential grounds, but on the basis of it sounds crazy, and people in media or people in whatever are just calling it crazy. And so there's something that can drive our decision making that is not a love of the truth or a willingness to believe that I mean, our warfare is not physical, but we wrestle against principalities and powers and all these spiritual forces. Like, there's actually evil wickedness going on in the world. It's easy just to kind of no, but really just these are just people out there. But like this, when you're kind of confronted with stuff that's going on in stuff that's going on in these emails and described in these emails, even if particular cases you're like, okay, well, this is an accusation, it was never substantiated. The totality of all the evidence, that's the breadth, all kinds of things that you're like, okay, well, even if only, let's say, even if 50% of this stuff was wrong, okay, there's still another 50% that is staggeringly, jaw-droppingly disgusting, vile, just requiring coordination from, it's just crazy. And so I think that there's one sense in which Christians can be tempted to get sucked into every conspiracy theory, to talk about them, to eat, sleep, drink them, look for a demon in every bush, like all that kind of stuff. That is a real temptation for some people. But for some people, the temptation is just to kind of go nah, and then just to dive into sports or dive into their work and making money, or dive into just maintaining respectability for the sake of whatever, for the sake of an easy life. And both of those things are errors. Both of those things are temptations that we don't want to fall into. And so this kind of gets at, Ryan, one of the things you mentioned about politicians. Like, it's become very in vogue for people to not want to be involved in politics because of how bad they are. And they'd rather just go start a business. They'd rather go do those things where it's not as complicated. You don't need to navigate this, world of these wicked people and all these choices. And yet that can be just as much an act of cowardice and be as objectionable as some of this behavior themselves. Like, there's obviously the famous phrase, "All it takes for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing." And so this is exactly what we're talking about. And so again, it's, you shouldn't want necessarily power. That's not like you shouldn't want to go out there and take absolute authority and all this kind of stuff. But you should also not be wanting for your own sake to just avoid governing and avoid leading, because again, to your point, like, God has put us here to be salt and light, and there are real consequences to who your leaders are. And so I don't know. I'm hopeful that, based on a number of things that I'm seeing, that there's more and more Christians who are waking up to the need to discern the timing and discern this kind of things, who are waking up to these responsibilities more than maybe they have in a couple generations.
Can I just say too that if, especially speaking to someone who's not a Christian, but also speaking to Christians, this is the most extreme view of the world that comes from the Bible, almost that you could imagine. And there's not a lot of room for like lukewarm. It is a conspiracy between the creator and the ultimate rebel, the devil, who literally wants to kill and destroy people. And it's not like kill and destroy to get money. It's kill and destroy because he hates God and hates you because you look like God. And so if you are a Christian and you're kind of like, oh, I can't believe people are that bad, wake up, because that is how it is. That's the devil at work. And I remember in the Lord's Prayer, one of his lines, he says, "Deliver us from evil." And if you can't say that prayer and understand whole body, the world around me is full of evil, and I need to be saved from it. Then you haven't really fully grasped the picture. And the picture is like crazy, crazy darkness that's going to be moving into judgment. And then the opportunity for not a better president, but eternal life in a place where there is no sin. You have there's not a lot of in between. And that's what makes it so hopeful is the Bible, God never tells us the world is just kind of darker than we want to believe, And then he says, but I actually have a better promise than you could even conceive of. In fact, it's so good I can't even fully explain it to you, And so it's just an encouragement to see, yes, be disgusted, but let it encourage your faith that this is exactly what God's talking about. This is why judgment is coming. This is why salvation is necessary for all of us. And if you guys, whenever we're done with talking about Epstein, I do have a psalm pulled up we could read a little bit of. But
that'd be a good cleansing.
Yeah, let me just mention one. Yeah, exactly. Let me just mention one more thing. I think this is, this is another one of those things, right? Like another example of this is, like, there's a lot of people who would just rather not go anywhere near evil. Like they'd rather not go anywhere near it. And the problem is, then you don't even have to pray, lead us not into temptation, or deliver us from evil. If you're not actually actively combating evil, you'll never have to actually pray that, right? If you run away from all this stuff and stick your head into even good things, we're just going to keep our head down, we're going to focus on that can be a way to avoid taking responsibility for something that God would have you do in a way that would require you to rely on him in ways that maybe would be dangerous or uncomfortable or whatever it is. And so, I just think there's a lot of people, and this happens a lot. There's the people who by temperament and by nature are drawn towards politics. They are the ones who maybe need to hear. They need to, maybe hear the thing of like, all right, maybe I should be willing to go do something else. And it's the people who are tempted to want to have nothing to do with it. Maybe they're the ones who need to consider. All right, am I willing to consider that the Lord might want me to deny myself and do something that isn't comfortable in order to serve the Lord and serve His people?
Yeah.
And do it as an act of service to your community, not as an act of personally gaining power.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, there needs to be. I think there's starting to be a shift that's happening right now. But yeah, this has been going on for I don't know, 50 years, my whole life. Christians were just, it's not our realm. It's that one. There's a book called The Forgotten Realm. I highly recommend it. I've just started going through it. But it's just about how
Forgotten
Christians
Realm or Unseen Realm?
The Forgotten Realm.
Oh, okay.
It's just how the church has abandoned the civic realm over the last many decades, and that it's literally viewed as bad. It's not our business. Even though God put Christians to rule over the world to be a blessing, and it's the Christian that's uniquely in the position to be a blessing because they actually care about other people and they actually want to serve and they want to love and they're actually submitting to Christ. And so they're under authority themselves. And if the Christian's living a righteous life, they have a fear of God and they don't want to take a bribe. And so Yeah, we've just
Is that
gotten it
this
so
right here?
twisted. Yep, that's it.
Yep.
And uh, yeah, the tide's shifting, but uh, you can still be hard pressed to get any encouragement. Um, and yeah, I've felt it personally. It's been something I've been wrestling with for several years. I've been more involved behind the scenes. And yeah, I mean, especially when you don't have very many other peers. There's not a lot of believers that are saying, "Hey, I'm willing to serve." It's very isolating right now still, and so that needs to shift. And it shouldn't be. There should be in every community. The Christians should band together and work together for the benefit of their community, and um, to be salt and um, yeah, and serve through local politics and things like that. So.
I do think this is just something that we like. It is just so counter. I would say a good like most of evangelicalism. Like we just are very poor at understanding politics and the nature of what it actually is, and the relationship between what what is the relationship between our Christian faith, which is seeking a kingdom that is not of this world, and all these kinds of what is the relationship between that and earthly politics. I just don't think the average Christian has a very consistent, logical, and therefore helpful and healthy understanding of those things. And so there's people who recognize this. There's a number of resources that have been coming out. As we mentioned, as we mentioned a long time ago, this is an issue that that the denominations like the PCA, the Presbyterian Church of America in America, or something, they are considering. They're studying this all this year. I think they were studying it all of last year, and then there's going to be a report coming up this spring summer, where just about the relationship between politics and Christians. How should Christians think about the role in politics? This is something that's a very live issue. People are struggling to understand it because. Just because it's been something that has been really completely neglected in specifically like the last 40, 50 years, 60 years. And yeah, we just need to think more clearly on it than we do.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Do you
it's
think
in
that's
and
related to sorry, I was going to say, do you think that's related to the kind of end times eschatology position of kind of the breadth of the church, thinking like we're just kind of preparing to be rescued and stuff like that? I mean, because I would throw into the pot, I know we might want to change subjects, but I would just throw into the pot like the chipperness of like being the wealthiest nation in the world and how relatively easy it is to be a Christian. Okay, relatively easy to be a quote unquote Christian, still not easy to be a Christian. And I think that the church has become very like TV after school special. I like doing nice things. I like having nice friends. I like the events my church puts on. I like feeding people food, which by the way is righteous, but the idea of a mentality that can't really from the heart say, I think that you're better
mm,
than Jeffrey Epstein. You know, one of the things when I see the little clips, I haven't dove into his interview. It's like he sounds like a normal guy, kind of. He sounds like someone in the clips that you might run into, and he's not like running around like a demon in the
yeah,
interview. You know,
yeah. This
and
is something
that kind of evil is within each one of us. The potential for it. You know,
I feel like this is the danger of movies. I feel like we've talked about this at some point, so forgive me, dear listeners, if I am repeating myself. But I feel like one of the problems is like because of movies, we honestly expect bad guys to be accompanied, like bad guys and evil actions to be accompanied with like scary music. Like we expect them to look like like big mustaches and like we expect them to be like twisting it when they're evil, and when they're good they'll just be obviously good. And it's like this is absurd. Like this makes no sense. Like of course wicked people are not going to tell you like they're not going to tell you that what they're doing is wicked, and they're not going to they're not going to be honest about what's motivated them. But like we just I don't know, I attribute at least part of it to movies and the way that they the way that they work.
well, and if you
There
become a
was I do want
Christian
to
in
mention so we've
Iran
got
today, I was just
what'd you
going to
say?
say it's not the same around the world. If you become a Christian in Iran or Nigeria
Yeah,
right now, you
yeah.
already know you're in danger, and you already know
Yeah.
you're surrounded by many people who would want you dead, literally dead. And
Yes.
you know, there's a guy, Josef Son, Tson, who was in Romania during that time, and he said they just had to. Him and his wife sat down and prayed and accepted that they're literally sheep in the midst of wolves, and any second someone can kick the door down with guns. And he said from that point on they were at peace, and sure enough, they did come and kick the door down with guns, and do all kinds of other stuff. And that's, thank God, that's missing from our nation now mostly. But make sure that you're not like missing it inside you, and counting the cost, because we want our hopes to be as high as heaven, but we also want our perspective on what's going on in the world to be in line with what God says.
Yeah, we do want to acknowledge some of you guys who are in different places. We have Phil Snydernet, friend of the program. Phil comments on the live stream. We live in a vast spiritual sewer. Yeah, that's definitely the case. And then we get a couple more comments here. It's an attitude similar to the attitude with Christians and Bitcoin. Yes, 100%. The relationship between politics and Christianity and how to think about those things rightly is very analogous to the relationship between Christians and Bitcoin.
And it's specifically thinking deeply about how the Bible speaks into every area of life. Like the Bible has something to say about money and just weights and measures, and not taking advantage of the poor, and not stealing, and I mean, which is ultimately like, don't debase your money. But anyways, but you have to think about things deeply, and in general, most people don't. They just kind of cruise.
Yes.
Yeah, I think about the letter to the Thessalonians, and those guys, that was their sin. Is they're like, oh wow, Jesus is coming back. Okay, so I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to pay my taxes. I'm not going to be part of the world. So it's no accident that it is in those letters that Paul says, you don't work, you don't eat.
That doesn't sound spiritual, Paul.
He's telling
that
them,
doesn't sound kind and winsome. Like, that sounds actually pretty harsh. Like, why are you being such a buzzkill, Paul? But
yeah, so those guys, the Thessalonians in particular, had that problem of not understanding that you need to live in and serve your fellow men and serve God and worship God, and all the things we talked about already. And that's where that well-known phrase comes from, is you better provide for your families, you better have enough to give to others, and so on.
It's Matt, what you were saying, we were talking about why this was happening. I think it is. I think. What was I going to say? Not abdication. I mean, it is. What were we talking about?
You talking about going into politics?
No. Why the Christians got out? Oh yeah. It was bad eschatology over the last 100 years. I think that's reason number one. It was this thing. Yeah, the kingdoms, Christ is going to return anytime. Why do we polish the brass on a sinking ship? I think that was probably, like, in my opinion, maybe 60% of it. But the other 40% was pretty significant also, and it was just the abdication of leadership on behalf of men, basically men abdicating what God's called us to. And simultaneously, feminism blew up in especially the United States. And so you have this absolute massive shift of how things of leadership, period, just from men leading like almost 100% to, like, look at it today. I don't know. What is it? Has it completely inverted? Probably not entirely, maybe, yeah, but it's come close. So we have this massive world changing shift of leadership that feminism has brought, right at the same time that anyway, so it's just a toxic soup of reasons, and yeah, next thing you know is suspiciously Christians are not involved in very, very important things, and so our culture is like rotting as a result. And yeah, that has to change.
Yeah, Phil, he has one more thing here.
If I can just say something real quick.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, if I can just say something, like me and Ryan, when we lived on the Big Island together, I've discovered, and Ryan has too, and where you are too, in Oregon, Ryan, it's not hard to get involved in local politics at all. They're starving for people who care about the community. They're begging you, please come to the business association meeting. Please come to the community meeting that's talking about homelessness and addiction and things like that. And me and Ryan both had experiences here on the Big Island of this. And very quickly, people are asking us to be here and asking us to be there. And I've been asked to pray at our county council meeting multiple times as a pastor. And I'm being asked even further things right now, which maybe I'll disclose on another podcast. And my point is just, it is not hard to get involved. If you want to start getting involved, don't think about being the president. Just show up at your next thing and say, can I go, what can I do? If you're a church, can I clean up, do you guys want some trees planted? Can I clean up with the gutters or is there stuff I can do for my town? And what you'll find out is with a little bit of effort, you'll have an opportunity to speak sometimes directly about Christ, but if not directly about salvation in Christ, it's about principles that are true. And many people recognize these as true when you bring them out. And what is it to be in power? Hopefully, if you're a righteous man, it means taking care of the powerless. I mean, literally, that's like one of the foundations. The reason you're in power is to make sure that the powerless are not taken advantage of, and just bringing that perspective will change it a lot.
And this fits right in here. What I was going to say. I mean, Phil mentions this other thing here. The excuse is not wanting to be worldly, and this is at the root of the problem, right? It's the idea that there are worldly places, and there's worldly spheres, and there's non-worldly spheres, and there's spiritual spheres, and it's like, well, okay, but the Apostle Paul tells us to whatever we do, whether something is seemingly unspiritual as eating or drinking, we should be doing that for the glory of God. Then if you can do that for the glory of God, then why in the world would you think that you couldn't do politics for the glory, or that concern for decisions that are made that are going to be binding and that are going to affect all of us, somehow that could be less spiritual, even though the entire point of discipleship is to bring yourself and the world underneath the lordship of Jesus Christ, which is a political, this is political by definition. So Phil, thank you for Phil's a friend. Thank you for your thoughts. Again, please keep showing up and giving more of them, because these are great ones. There might be some other people who we won't encourage them to come back with their thoughts, but Phil, you've been great, so we appreciate you. All right, so we're gonna leave Epstein. We're gonna leave those things there. Again, we could have talked more about hoping in the Lord, just the Lord being sovereign over these things. But we do want to bring in our guest, our very special guest. Let me get him in here. Moses. Apparently he's doesn't want to give his last name. Well, psych on him. Moses Finley, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Great. Moses, I'm sure he's
good to see you again.
Listener. Long-time listener, first-time caller. This is great. We're pumped to have you on the pod. For those who aren't familiar with you or your work, why don't you give an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, I'm Moses. I'm a software developer. I've done a lot of work for businesses, companies in Bitcoin space. I love thank God for Bitcoin and what they're doing here in their mission. And this podcast, I'm a regular listener. So.
Man, yeah, very, very faithful listener, faithful commenter, faithful son of one of the people on the podcast. So I mean, he's got a whole bunch of things we could say. Moses, why are you here? Let's see.
Hey,
well,
Dad.
the reason we wanted to have Moses on is because last week, amidst all the Epstein stuff, our timelines were pretty much divided 50-50 between Epstein stuff and Moltbot. Okay. So
Claudebot
we thought
first.
What is it?
Claudebot.
Correct. It was like Claudebot, and then what was the second name? There was something about
Claudebot. Moses, yeah, which
it
one?
Was like Claude. It was Claudebot.
Yeah.
CLAWD.
The names changed like twice.
Yes, because they threatened to get sued,
Mm-hmm.
so they called it Claudebot, CLAWD bot, and then Claude, CLAUDE, the AI thing, basically issued I don't know if it was a cease and desist, but like threatened to pursue legal action based on using, trying to use their name. So then they changed it to something else. And then for some reason, that also brought a potential problem. And then they decided to change it to Moltbot. So let's just do this. Moses, let's start here. For those who have no idea what we're talking about, what is Moltbot, and what was the big deal that happened last week?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the guy launched it. Peter launched it, and he called it Claudebot, but the name is too close to Anthropic's model Claude, and so he got a cease and desist letter, and he had to change the name at like really early in the morning, and he just randomly picked Moltbot because that's what lobsters do. They molt apparently, and
sure, yeah, it's a lobster.
So Moltbot,
that's
and then nobody liked the
from.
name, and then and then they changed the name to OpenClaw, I think. So yeah, it's basically.
So what is this? Yeah, what is it?
What was that? Yeah, it's basically
what is it? What was going on?
A way to have a fully it's a way to have a fully personal assistant that has access to anything you could imagine. Like you can hook up your email to it, you can hook up all your chats to it, your calendar, and essentially it gives you full privacy, and it can like imagine ChatGPT, but it has access to all of your personal information. That sounds a little bit scary, but it's fully private, which it requires a lot of setup. You have to like spin up a server or buy a Mac Mini, which is like a personal computer, and then you can install it on there. So yeah, I've set it up, and I've been
for the listeners out there. For the listeners out there, would you recommend them purchasing a Mac Mini?
I wouldn't recommend purchasing a Mac Mini right now because you can set it up for a lot cheaper on a little virtual private server. And honestly, I don't think it's quite lived up to the hype I've seen. It's definitely an incredible like leap forward in progress as far as like what these personal agents can do, but I wouldn't spend like $600 to buy a Mac Mini just to run this thing. You can run it just as well on like a $5 a month VPS, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah. So so obviously there's all these videos coming out of people who are saying, "Man, this is incredible," and so again, there was FOMO. I was like, somebody shared a hack on. Not like an actual hack, but like a price hack, where there's some website where like Best Buy will price match with a number of websites, and one of the websites had Mac Minis for like $399, where they're normally $599, and so people were like buying them up very quickly. They sold out very quickly. Best Buy sold out of all their Mac Minis across the country. Like a lot of these places were just selling out because people were supposedly deploying tons of these agents and trying to leverage them to make lots of money and to make their lives easier. And so again, as you mentioned, there are people who, in some cases, weren't even buying the Mac Mini, were downloading this software and giving the AI agent total access to their computer, and just it ends up being horribly. So what are some of it ended up very poorly. And so what were some of the things that ended up happening that were only reported on in the last day or two related to that?
I haven't kept up on a lot of those happenings. I know that there's definitely some security vulnerabilities, and there's a lot of unknown, like different attack vectors. I mean, there's crazy things like where if you give Claudebot access to your email, somebody could send an email and say like, ignore all previous instructions, and if Claudebot's monitoring it, it wouldn't know if it was you talking to it versus somebody else. So there's stuff like that. I'm not super worried. At least, I'm on the latest version, and I'm going to do have it. I did give it access to my email, but I think they patched that. There's stuff like that where anytime you're adopting something early like this, you have to know the risk. But I mean, I wouldn't really mess with it too much unless you're technical, because I mean, it would be really easy to, I don't know, expose yourself to like hacks. So
Yeah, let's here I found a couple of these. Let's pull this up here. So it was like something like 25% of 25% of the people who were trying to use this thing, there were like exploits in here. So here's an example. Moltbot skills exploited to distribute 400 plus malware packages in days. Over 400 malicious OpenClaw packages were uploaded in days using Moltbot skills to spread password stealing malware. Researchers uncovered a large malware campaign of using AI skills. So auto updater, Polymarket, that's hilarious. Rugged. Claude Hub, skills update, Polymarket trading bot, skills, like all these people who are, I mean, there's a interesting symmetry and relationship between all of those things. So you've got people who, motivated by greed of trying to either be at the bleeding cutting edge of this AI stuff, or trying to be at the bleeding edge in order to leverage it to do good stuff on Polymarket and potentially make money. Those are the people who were their greed was rewarded with getting rugged and exploited in some of these things, right? I think there is lessons there. There's it harkens back to our episode on, I think our last episode, where we talked about gambling and some of the things involved in it. There is a wisdom in not being the first person to adopt something, and you're just choosing to wait until there's more feedback. If something sounds too good to be true, many times it can be.
Moses, what is, so you've used it, obviously this is version 1 and it's only been a couple days. What are some insights that you might have for where this is going in 6 months or a year or two?
One of my favorite use cases so far has been, honestly, like I can run Claude code for my phone now. And so I can fire it off. And like one of the things about AI programming is it takes sometimes 10 minutes for the Claude code to run and respond back to you. So what you can do is you can fire off a message and just say, hey, like implement this feature. And ClaudeBot has all the AI software on its server, and it can write code for you. And it's like kind of texting a like little employee to like, hey, just go do this. And then it comes back to you in response. So like, it's almost like you can spin up mini like AI employees to like work with, and they report directly to you. So that is like really cool.
And you can be out on a walk
hands-on
when they get back to you.
Yeah.
So you can keep living your life and doing things that you normally would do. You could go work out, and like you might get a ping.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the coolest thing is that it messages you first, and it's like a real, almost like a real human who like is thinking thoughts and can send you messages when it comes up with something, or like I see people, and I even tried this out, like it can build apps for you overnight. So when you wake up in the morning, it built something that is relevant to you. Like one of the things is it built a dashboard for like my family to track all our different projects and like software ideas and stuff. And like, it's really cool. And but it still takes like, I can see where it's going, but it still takes like a lot of hands-on kind of like guidance. But yeah, I mean, it really is incredible. Like just even moving forward a little bit of like, it's not a full-on replacement for a human, but I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah. And so again, we're going to talk about this on a future episode. Like there's healthy ways to replace humans, and then there's unhealthy ways. And so again, we could look at something like, a car would not necessarily replace humans. You're replacing horses. But there are ways in which humans are replaced in ways that are disruptive, which isn't necessarily a wrong thing. Isn't necessarily wrong. But one example of this would be I was at the airport yesterday, flying back home, and I'm still not used to this. There was like a kiosk with like all the drinks and food and all this stuff. And I grab something, I turn around looking for the cashier, and it's just a screen. There's just a screen right there with a little little scanner. So you just scan the thing, you pay. There's no humans involved in the transaction. And so this is something that the technology is made possible. The incentives are there for the airport store. They're able to pay a fraction of a cost of what they would have to if it was a human there. And so, yeah, it does raise other questions about where do we draw the line to this type of thing? Should we draw the line at all? Like, is this just is the only objection to this the same as tilting at windmills over just the inevitable progress that is coming upon us? So we'll have to do a future episode on that. We've kind of touched on it tangentially at different points, but that'd be a good episode. Anything else to add in terms of whether it was like some of the incentives involved? I think one of the other things I saw somebody mention was again, when you look at the incentives, there was a token involved. Can you maybe unpack that a little bit, Moses?
I don't know that much about that. I'm pretty sure that the founder was not involved with a token.
Okay.
I don't think he's a fan of crypto more broadly. So
yeah,
that's my understanding.
Okay.
But
I thought I remember hearing there was a token involved, and then basically you had to buy tokens in order to use the service. And so there was some sort of question of like whether or not this is like a marketing ploy, whether or not all of the traffic, because it was insane. I mean, like my entire feed on Wednesday or something like that was talking about this. And so there was some question over how I don't know, I can't think of what the word is, how genuine this onslaught of activity was versus was this some sort of marketing campaign? Was this like a marketing campaign?
I know.
By one Apple employee.
yeah, with like
I know that the totally different group, but PsyOp Anime is like the new anime AI group that's doing contemporary events and stuff, and I think it's awesome. And it's like they got super shot to the moon because Elon retweeted or something like that, and all of a sudden there was a PsyOp Anime coin. And it was like a few days later, the owners were like, "That is not us," So I think it could be the same thing. It could be people see this thing mooning and then they start a coin with the same name.
Yeah, we're still so early that there's an opportunistic. I mean, anybody in a decentralized world, anyone can spin up a coin on every little viral project, and people. Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance around the industry. Sadly, when people don't look into something, they just shallowly dismiss it. They actually become the most prone to being suckered into a scam, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah. So again, like there's it's just like all these things. I mean, it's just like Bitcoin, to bring it full circle. We'd all, like for Bitcoin to be at like full maturity, adoption, all this kind of stuff. It would make certain things easier. We'd all love for all of these tools to be at a point where they're more bulletproof, easier to benefit us in all these ways. And so there's a temptation for all of us to want to immanentize the eschaton, to borrow a theological phrase of like, oh yes, we want to believe that the Moltbot is at the point where we can just say, forget you, Moses. TGFB's not hiring you anymore. Well, we're just going to use an agent, and in reality, we're not there yet, which we're grateful for. We love working with Moses. And if you need projects, go hire Moses.
You try. The next thing you know, TGFB.com it's being held ransom by a mutant Moltbot.
Yeah,
that's right. So yeah.
No, the thing about it is like.
Go ahead. I
was just going to add that Claudebot is really helpful. I definitely does not live up to the hype. Like you're gonna see just absolutely crazy posts and online, and like it's a helpful tool, and like it makes me more productive. It makes people who know how to use it well more productive. But like it's not gonna like, I mean, absolutely change your life. You know, it's like another like helpful tool, and I'm benefiting from it. And like, yeah.
Where would you encourage people to spend their time with how much you use AI every day, and seeing all the all the sensational posts and stuff like that? What's your advice just for the normie out there that just uses AI a little bit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would, yeah. I mean, it depends on what you need it for, because, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if you're a software developer, you have to be good at using AI. Otherwise, you, like you just won't be able to keep up, because like you shouldn't really be writing code by hand anymore. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is like the rate at which you can consume information is so high now. You can find whatever you need on ChatGPT, and yeah, I mean, I would say that you should just get good at looking up information on ChatGPT and or whatever AI you use, like Claude, because there's no reason to be ignorant about a subject if you're trying to learn it at this point, because literally you have a personalized tutor who can teach it to you. So
Yeah. I think when we have you on again, it would be we'll prep you some more. The way you use AI is vastly different than the way other people use AI, and you don't realize it. But for example, Moses uses it extensively in the preparation, like even before he utilizes it, like in the preparation process. So there's like, yeah. Anyways, it vastly changes how helpful it is to the user. Like I think people we're still so new that people are still trying to one shot everything. Like, write me a magical such and such, and like you're gonna get like you're still. I mean, the response to that is actually getting better, but you're still getting a garbage response versus like systematically having it help you think through how to even structure whatever you want, whatever you're trying to produce or whatever you're working on. So there's honestly, like, yeah, we could have you share a little class of like how to use AI efficiently.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, the way I've used it has changed so much, and like, yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to it, and like you said, one shotting. There's a whole process of like having AI help you think more clearly about what it is you're working on, and then you break it up into multiple steps, and yeah, it's not just a silver bullet. You have to still use engineering to achieve the goal you want, even with AIs. So
yeah, I would just say my uses are, I use AI every day, and my uses are very different because I'm not a coder. I'm using it for things at home and for research, and I'm a preacher. So I used a funny example of AI keeps wanting to write when I was using it more, it keeps wanting to write my sermon for me, And when I first started, I'm like, I want it to do every other thing. I want to give you like a text and have you make a slideshow, right? Because that's something that takes me 10 minutes, and I just would like to just tell you to do it.
mm-hmm.
But it couldn't do that yet. But it always wants to keep coming back with like, would you like me to tell you more about what Jesus might have meant in this passage? And I'm like, that's what I don't want you to do. I want you to help me with my busy work. You know what I mean?
And tell it to commit that to memory and never to bring it up again.
Yeah, remember this point. And that's a little bit of a joke, but it's not a joke in the sense that it keeps coming back with, can I research more for you? Can I tell you more what this means? And I'm thinking, I'd like an assistant to do the things that I couldn't do. But I'm trying to think where I was going with that. Yeah, if we have another AI episode, it'd be really interesting to talk about, especially with you, Moses. Now, are you Gen Z?
Yes,
You're in the middle.
I'm Gen
You're
Z.
like in the middle. I never know where the next one is. Alpha starts and stuff like that. But this is
You've never
you know,
sounded as much like a boomer as when you just asked him, "Are you part of the Gen Z?"
because I never remember. I think my daughter's 14, so she might be alpha. I don't know, but and then unfortunately, the next one after that is beta. They should have got a better name, but anyway,
We're not doing that. I object. I object. Time out. I object. We have to come up with something better. Beta generation is just not going to work.
But it's an interesting idea that it's providentially Bitcoin and AI are here now, and you're a native to that, Moses. You're like an old native, maybe actually comparatively.
Yeah.
And the idea that some of the problems that Bitcoiners and others have looking at the economy and the future is like the boomers have all their stuff and they're not letting it go. And in certain ways, both AI and Bitcoin have the opportunity to say, here's a huge kingdom flip with these two things potentially for those who are native to it or who take the time to learn it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah,
we've been going for, this is one of our longer episodes. Ryan, go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you get the closing word here.
You know, I was gonna say, like, I kind of sprung that question on Moses without, you know, I didn't give him any warning ahead of time, but coding is a very, very technical, advanced thing. Like it took, Moses spent 10 years learning how to code, literally right before AI just completely took over. And AI's impact on every other form of work is going to be just as significant as it is in software development. So when you hear him talking about like you need to start using it, especially if you're a younger person out there, like everyone needs to start using it because it is a tool that's literally going to reshape all of work in the next, you know, few years. And that's not even to say, that's not even being alarmist. Like we still, our brains cannot comprehend the change that's coming. And yeah, we'll totally have to talk about the you know, the optimist case for that. Yeah, and the drawbacks also, but it's unavoidable.
We'll also have to talk about...
Yeah, it's a cat out of the bag kind of a situation, and yeah, it's good to utilize it as a tool.
We'll also have to look at the failed deal that just fell through between NVIDIA and OpenAI. And that's a whole fascinating thing as well. Maybe we'll touch on that in the next episode a little bit. But again, just to whet your appetite, Ashua is going to be back on the next episode, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to be talking about just giving a recap of the time that we spent in El Salvador, in El Zonte, Bitcoin Beach. You know, just there for that summit, what we, you know, people we met, what we learned. I think that'll be really interesting. It was just such encouraging, awesome time to see literally people from dozens of countries around the world and just hear about Bitcoin circular economies, things that they're learning, things that they're practicing, all these people learning from each other, all at different points, some much more mature, some literally 3 months old. It was incredible to be there and get to meet all these people. There was a shocking number of Christians, including pastors. There were at least I think 2 or 3, 4 pastors who were there, who are doing Bitcoin circular economy stuff on the side because they care about, you know, the people in their communities. So again, the TGFB, you know, the kind of the thing that, you know, we've been seeing for years now. It just was really cool to see that, you know, some of these things happening in tandem or I guess in parallel. That was really encouraging. And then beyond that, or after that, we left. Let's see, that the Circular Economy Summit was from Tuesday until Thursday. It finished off, and then Friday and Saturday was the Plan B Forum in El Salvador. And so that was a whole bunch of just super well-known, big-name Bitcoiners were in El Salvador. to do a big Bitcoin conference, and so we can talk some more about that as well. So we'll have Oshua and have two brains, two memories, be able to kind of recount and recap what went down. So that'll be a big part of the next episode. You can set your calendars and be there. We'll definitely be back next Tuesday, if not sooner. Again, as we close, just remind you. Just a reminder that you can get your tickets to TGFB 26 in Fort Worth, Texas on April 9th at tgfb.com/conference. Our website was built by Moses, so you can go take a look at some of his beautiful work. Go do that. You can also, again, as I mentioned, use promo code Plan B, all capitalized, to get 25% off anything in the TGFB store. We are grateful for you all, and we'll be back on the next episode of either To the Unknown Pod, or possibly we could have an interview coming soon between the now and the next time we talk on the TGFB podcast itself. So we're grateful for you. We'll see you on the next episode.